What is up, everybody? Welcome to our brand new podcast.
Wow.
Where we got to pay the bills.
Wow.
It's Jake Micah, my co-host Wake Jotkins or Jake Watkins. I don't know. I always get
depending
confused.
on who you are.
I think you just do this to throw the people off at this point. And for our first episode here, the preseason
I got
pilot.
a story about that, but he matters a little more.
Okay, yeah, keep going. We had to bring back our favorite guest here, Jay Spence the King, doing all his great work over at Buffalo Rumblings. What's up, guys? How are we doing here on the Pay the Bills podcast? The inaugural, the pilot, whatever you want to call it, the rebrand, the reboot, whatever it is. How are you feeling?
I love it, man. I'm feeling good. I'm honored for a couple of reasons. Before we went live, we were talking about the last time I was on the show. I feel like I'm always a guest on your show for major moments, and I just think this is I think it's a sign. It's a sign.
Yeah, no, it's like it was meant to
too.
be. Honestly, yeah.
You
got to pull out the big guns. You're the biggest gun we got, you know.
But no,
you're the ace. That's what you are. You're the ace.
You're
like
the ace.
we know. Yeah. You know, whatever we need, we know if someone needs to come through, it's you. That's you. You're the guy.
You know what? Anytime. I told Zach the same thing. Anytime. No, I mean this. You guys are like family, man. Anytime, just hit me up and just send me the link. Don't even ask. Just say, hey, I need you this day. Got it.
Sounds good, bro.
We love it, that, man.
We're ready for a fun season here. So we're in the clouds here, guys. I said I would explain all the clouds and everything.
Yeah, please do.
And I'm sure because Wake probably had no idea. I made these graphics all on my own, and I had that cloud.
You said that you had to explain the clouds, and I was like,
"What is
this guy talking about?"
It is this. Nothing was the same album right here. Part of it too. But last year, my first year, our first year as a pod tandem together. We're navigating a Bills landscape, and we went into, as you guys both know, the craziest possible Bills season possible to cover the Bills for your first year. I mean, we were not short on drama, from petty drama to the most serious of real life implications. Like, we got the spectrum of everything. And what we were just talking about as well, like personal, whether it affected us personally or just our Bills family and our Bills lives, we've talked to everything. And so the Pay the Bills podcast, my mantra for the year is we have to stay above the negativity. We're all about the positive vibes here. And so we're going to hang out in the clouds above all the arguing, all the nonsense, all the drama, which there is still plenty of. And I might get into it. Don't get me wrong. I hope one of you will check me. Just send me a little note like, hey, it's not worth it, because it will happen.
It's not worth it.
That's the goal. I'm not letting it get to me this year. I just want to cover the Bills. This is the most fun. We were talking about. I was talking about remember the 6-3 Browns game? I was talking about that with my coworker today. Yeah. We experienced that. This should be fun. This should be life. But you go ahead. I'm sorry.
It is. No, it is, and you're right. And I cut you off, so really, I apologize. But no, it's just so hard, though, man. Like, so first, if we're honest, anybody who does a podcast, like, there's some level of vanity there. Like you want to hear yourself talk. I'll admit it. I like to hear myself talk. But what ends up happening is, like, in a space that really there's enough space for everybody, and we don't have to all like hang out and get along, but a lot of times, like, you notice it, man. Like, some people choose to take these little jabs when it's like, is that necessary? And I'm just saying it's tough. It's tough. I've grown a lot to now where Bruce has helped me mute and block. So now my mute list is insane.
And Bruce,
my mute list is insane.
He's like my idol for that mute list too. He is, like, I remember seeing him mention that. I remember that first tweet he sent out like 6 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's the idea. And so thank you, Bruce, for being an inspiration on that. But that's what it is about. You're right. Like, it is hard. We see it, but you just got to try to block it out. Like, and we got to enjoy this season while we have it, because things, first of all, things will be different next year.
And that's
as it is.
Yeah.
It's short.
But that's it, Jake. But no, what you said is right. We should be enjoying this. So, like, we have to be the catalyst for all the positivity. So, like, when we do see some drama, hey, let's jump in those DMs. Hey, man, you good? Let's fix this. Let's squash this. So this year, let's challenge all the other content creators and all of the folk that's in this space. Let's all enjoy this and make this the best season. Because you're right, Jake. For real, it gets catty. It's so messy with the podcast world. I don't get it.
And you know that,
and we know with go ahead, Wade.
So go ahead. No, you just see some people put out the post where you kind of look at that and like, as someone, I've always been like an English guy in high school, AP English, not bragging about what I did in high school or anything, but I've always been, fascinated about, language and communication and how people speak and why they speak that way, And sometimes you see someone put a tweet or something out there and you're like, I know the intention behind this tweet. I know the card they're sliding on the table there. And sometimes I just shake my head. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna scroll past because this is not worth it. It's just not worth it,
And that's been tough for me. So what is this? This will be my third season or fourth season. I think this will be my fourth season doing the pod. But with that being the case, I've gone through like the super petty stuff, like the stuff on the like literal podcast wars where we're on, different pods and I'm talking about them and they're talking about me. I've gone from that to just whatever you could think of. And it almost drains you. But if you guys have made it through a full season, so the fun that it brings and everything it brings. But I feel like when you can focus and get past that stuff, this is like the coolest. I still call it a hobby for myself, even though we do things on a more serious level. But as a hobbyist, like, can you think of a cooler hobby, like to talk to people who love the same thing that you love, and people will spend time every week to take time out of their day to listen to you talk about something that you love. It's the dopest thing. So, but I hear you, Wake, because I pay attention to it. It's like, okay, you didn't have to. I know exactly what I knew who you were aiming at with that. Yeah.
A subtle subtweet, a verbal subtweet is what we'll call it.
I don't know if it's so subtle. You were talking about your communication background. I work in PR in life, and so I actually look at everything as with a shady eye in the world. And so some of them not so subtle,
and
or trying to be subtle and not being subtle. But you're right. Like the thing what you just said brings it all back around. Is like it. Yes, like maybe there's a sense of vanity a little bit in it. Like I was the kid that was starting out turning down video games and like announcing games myself, because that's all I could think about was announcing sports, talking about sports, writing about sports. So you're right, we have this opportunity. That's the way I'm looking at it this year. Like we have the opportunity to cover this team in potentially the most historic season, but regardless going to be one of the most exciting seasons in its history. So let's take advantage of it and run with it and have fun with it and do whatever we can with it. And that's what we're here for tonight on the Pay the Bills podcast. And we're going to start off obviously with the Buffalo Bills. Preseason training camp ended today. Last practice in Rochester. It's crazy that it's already like, it comes and goes so quick. I'm going to be so sad not seeing the camp tweets and everything else, all the camp video too. But we've all been following everything, listening to everything, talking to everybody. So Spencer, we're going to start with you. Just how are you feeling generally, confident on a confidence scale level going into the season in the Buffalo Bills? And I mean on a confidence scale level of them being a Super Bowl contender, not winning the division, not just like how happy you would be with them. Like as a legitimate Super Bowl contender, where would you stand heading into preseason game 1 on Saturday?
I'm more comfortable now than I was last season. So like the way I look at the team right now, I would probably have them 4th or 5th on my list of saying this team can win the Super Bowl. So, and that's not, I know Bills fans, we're supposed to have them at 1 all the time, but it's not a shot at the Bills. I just think that there's a couple areas that they didn't improve or chose to ignore that I feel like, it could come back to bite them later on in the year. But offensively, I think we got better. I know a lot of people might feel like, well, we didn't really do much besides draft Kincaid. I would argue with that. I love Singletary. I'm glad he's a Texan though. I love Singletary, but I'm glad he's a Texan. Bringing in, so the guys that we brought in at the running back position, they bring something different than what we had with Singletary, and it brings something that we didn't have at the goal line. So now we have that. I think James Cook is going to take a step forward. I mean, from every account from training camp, he's lightning in a bottle this year. And then on top of it, it's a contract year for Gabe Davis. I think Gabe Davis is he's gonna be what we expected out of a wide receiver too. I think he's gonna earn that extension. And then I'm excited about Kincaid. I think Dawson Knox is in a better mental health state. So I think he's going to the Dawson that we saw from weeks maybe 15 to the end of the playoffs. I think we're going to see that Dawson from week 1. So offensively there. And then, okay, we didn't have any major signings, but guess what? You get an all-pro safety back So that's how I look at it. We free agency, we signed Jordan Poyer back, but we also get back Micah Hyde, who's an all-pro. Then we're at some point. I know some people are thinking week 1. I'm thinking week 4ish, week 5. But at some point, we're going to get back Von Miller, and so I'm not nervous as most people are when they look at Hard Knocks and watch the Jets, and they talk about Miami and all this stuff. I'm very confident with the Bills.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree, especially on the offensive side of the football, probably more on the offensive side of the football than the defensive, because I think on the defense, there are more unknowns, and the unknown can mean, on both ends of the spectrum. That just means there's variation where they could be way better than we expect, or maybe a little worse than we expect. But on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, you brought up Dalton Kincaid. What we missed from week 9 on, that's that benchmark. That's that point, that turning point from last season that people keep mentioning, was just that intermediate area of the field. And when you bring back an aging Cole Beasley to fulfill what Jamison Crowder was starting to come into, that's when you know that the offense knows they have a problem. And Dalton Kincaid plus Sherfield plus Hardy are 3 possible solutions to that problem. More people that can get open in the intermediate areas of the field. And from what we're hearing at training camp, Gabe Davis, his route running is at least, now it's training camp. It's training camp. We can say that as many times as we want, but his route running is looking a little bit better than it has in the past, especially not, being so close to that ankle injury where he's not able to cut. He can't get open in the intermediate areas of the field. So I'm feeling great about the pass catchers, especially James Cook taking a step. Offensive line, though, I don't think, we can understate the importance of bringing in a guy like a Connor McGovern or just a mauler like an Osiris Torrance. Now, maybe Torrance doesn't start the year, completely hitting the ground running because he's a big kid. That's what he is. He is a big kid who's about to go up against defensive tackles in the NFL. And there's probably going to be some growing pains. But when you have a guy like Ryan Bates who can just cycle in and be like, hey, Cyrus, watch him. Watch Ryan. He knows how to do this. Learn from Ryan. Learn from all the other vets on this offensive line. And overall, they're just more deep, too. So offensive side of the ball, could not be happier. Literally, the only concern that I could have is what if someone gets hurt? And I'm feeling great about that. If I'm worrying about injuries, I know they're in a good spot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was and that was a lot of what I said going into last year too, was like they're due, like not due, but like injury bug is really the only thing that can hurt a roster that's this deep and this solid all the way around. And then they got hit by an injury.
And they would have to hurt it to the extent that it did last year too, which last year was so.
And sometimes you just have those years. And I think that's been a lot of perspective that I've seen lacked from from Bills fans and national media. Maybe they're choosing to have that lack of perspective as well. But the fact that the Bills were just ravaged by injuries at every position last year, specifically the secondary, but just every position and at key positions. You look at like a couple of years ago when the Ravens, how many guys were the Ravens? They had on IR like 25 or 30 guys on IR and they missed the playoffs. Like the injury, like you just can see it year to year that there's teams affected by this. But the thing about the O-line I'm fine with. I think that the thing I've been more interested by is Kincaid. And I think it's just because why is there not enough people just considering that maybe he's special? And that's what they're so excited about in the first place, the Bills. Like there's not enough talk. I feel like there's too much trepidation and there has not been enough people saying like, what if the kid is special on day one, steps in and he is a top, let's say 10 talent in the league, top 15 tight end talent. What that does for a guy like Dawson Knox, who, as you were saying, Spence, like he's a guy who's in a better headspace this season or this preseason, has apparently looked good in camp, has had some of his best days the last couple of days as well. And a guy like Gabe Davis, who, again, in a contract year, love a good contract year guy, always expect that guy to ball out. And he's going to be helped out by having actual threats on the field like a Dalton Kincaid. I feel like they're all, the three of them, really the symbiosis of the three of them are going to help each other out so much. But Kincaid might just be special. He looked special to me in college. I'm not going to lie. Like watching last year in Utah, the fluidity that he can move with and get open with. And you saw like the video the other day, the tight catch that Josh throws him, that even the fact that Josh is throwing him that ball and that tight angle as he's falling down. But those are the types of the kid just finds the ball. Like he finds ways to get open and finds angles to catch the ball. That's what he did last year. It seems what he's doing in camp. And what's the ceiling if he steps in and he's better than Dawson Knox? Let's just say whatever your fantasy ranking of Dawson Knox is, he comes in and he's one step better than that. That's the best offense in the NFL by far. I feel like if he can reach at that certain level, Gabe is where he's at right now. We know what Diggs is about to do, and we know the levels Josh is going to be at.
Well, when you say that, I mean, you got to look at the fact last year, statistically, we were the number 2 offense with a rookie play caller, and without the role that now we're hoping Kincaid is going to fulfill. Like, we brought back Beasley, but really Beasley didn't look like Beasley for us. We didn't get that same production. So you're looking at the offense that we had last year. We didn't have really that. We missed. It wasn't just Beasley. You got to think about. We also missed Emmanuel Sanders. Like, we missed Emmanuel Sanders, his role so much, and we thought that Gabe would be able to kind of just fill into that role. Now this year, like what you're saying, both of you are saying, like, Kincaid looked elite in college, man. Like, he looked special. And I think a lot of times too, when it comes to Bills fans, this is a good thing, a good problem to have in a way now. But I think we've been so used to like, with this regime, they're drafting players that don't play right away and they develop them. And then even before that, prior to that, it's like we draft these guys that are supposed to be special and then they rarely panned out. So I think Bills fans at this point, we're just in this place where it's like, is he elite? Is he that good? Or are we just hyping him? So I feel like some of us don't want to believe it yet because we feel like we're gonna be let down. But I'm gonna tell you, I agree with both of you. I think he's elite, man. Like, I can't wait to see him and Josh. Just they're gonna unleash on people this year. I can't wait.
Yeah. No, and I've been listening to a lot of it's fantasy draft seasons. I've listened to a lot of dynasty stuff. I'm in a dynasty startup right now. And there are literally 2 schools of thought and no in between on a guy like Dalton Kincaid. And it's that, one, he's special. He's going to command targets. He could be the number 2 receiver in a Josh Allen-led offense. Like, who knows? Literally, ceiling is Mark Andrews. Whereas the floor is rookie tight end that can't block and isn't on the field because of that. And when people say his ceiling is Mark Andrews, do you guys know how many pass blocking downs Mark Andrews had last year? Do you know off the top of your head? Well, I'm going to tell you, I'll put the over-under at 0.5. And I say that because it was under. He had 0 pass blocking snaps last year. So, I mean, there's really, if there is a special pass catching talent who you want to get the ball, the moral of the story is you will find a way to get this guy the ball. Thank you.
That one was good. Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Did what I could.
Nothing else to say there on that.
Well, no, I was laughing because it's like, no, that was good, and it was a good point. But what you're saying is the truth. Like, you have again, we as content creators and our couch coaches, we try to overanalyze stuff, and we're like, but you know what, he can't block, and last year we didn't have this and we didn't have that, and it's like, okay, but what does he bring that we didn't have? And then when you add that, how often do we ask Beasley to block? Like, are you out there like Cole Beasley and I'm talking about his Pro Bowl year his All Pro year with us. His All Pro year, Beast, go out there and block for Singletary on this play. Like, make sure knock this dude, pancake him. We're expecting pancakes. No, Diggs. I get it. He's a tough guy, and Diggs will get out there and put his body out to block. But we're not looking at Diggs like he's the best. I used to like Robert Woods when he was with Buffalo. You could almost like see him go and search the block out. Like he Bobby Trees is that dude. I love Bobby Trees, but
oh my God, yeah,
it's like he's a different type of receiver though. He goes to look for the contact. He was looking for work. We ain't asked Beasley to do that, and I don't need Kincaid to do that. What I need from Kincaid, get open. When Josh can't get it to Steph and we can't get it to Davis, you catch it, get some yards after the catch, maybe some touchdowns. Get jiggy for me. I want some highlights on ESPN. I don't need to see. You know, I don't care about you blocking. And that might sound real bad of me to say as an analyst or whatever. I don't care about his blocking. He got the best hands in the draft, is what I heard.
I don't want Dawson Knox to be blocking that much either. He blocked too much last year too. That's the thing. Like they're gonna ideally, even if they spread it out, if they spread it out, these two guys can be on the field when they spread it out, and they're still gonna do whatever they want to do, run their offense. I'm with you guys completely. Like and that's why we are here. We're in the positivity, because it's also looking at what can we do with these guys? What would you use him as a weapon for? I don't care what he can't do. Like you said, what can he do on the field? And what I'm seeing he can do is pretty much damn near get open anywhere in the middle of the field, even if it's for 6 yards. But if you're taking 6 yards a pop from a guy like a Cole Beasley used to do or something like that, you're ahead of schedule. You're moving the chains. We're going down the field. So like that's something that they own. They did not own the middle of the field. They're going to have guys trying to dominate the middle of the field this year. And at least it's a presence. If at worst people think of him as a threat and he's not, it opens it up for Gabe and Diggs on the outside regardless.
Well, and guess what? We upgraded Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah,
so like people, we're ignoring that fact, and I get it. Like he didn't make a lot of plays offensively, so we don't talk about it a lot. But they expected him to. He basically was given that Cole Beasley role. He didn't live up to it. Hardy is gonna be nice. Like I don't think people understand how nice this dude is. And then our 5th round draft pick, Justin.
Shorter.
Okay. Yeah. Justin is
Please, yeah.
Like I need people who don't understand to understand. Like
I watched him at Penn State. I watched him at Penn State a couple years.
Dude, diamond in the rough. Like he's to me he's an example of like when people go to certain programs that don't get the type of shine and love, and also the coaching there they weren't as. You know, like the coaching wasn't as good either. So, like, you know how
they didn't have the QB play. They did not have the guys that could throw the ball to him either and get him in spots that they needed to be.
Well, you know how when DK Metcalf came out the draft, and because I wanted him, I was so mad when we drafted Cody Allen. I was so
mad. I remember where I was and I threw my headphones on the floor. I remember this.
Dude, I was at the Bills Stadium. You know how they have the draft party in the I was so mad. But remember what they were saying about DK Metcalf coming out of that draft. They were like, all he can do is run a straight line. He can't run routes. But it was the program he was in, the way they used him at Ole Miss. It wasn't that he couldn't do it. Now he's in the league. He's clearly a wide receiver 1 out there.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm not saying Justin is going to be that. I'm not saying he's DK Metcalf. What I'm saying is he has a lot of the same, to me, he has a lot of the similar attributes, a lot of the same way people looked at him. Oh, he's not a good route runner. His route tree isn't that deep, and he doesn't do that. All right, get him with a quarterback like Josh Allen and an offensive mind that we have over here in Buffalo, and just wait. This offense, I'm so excited about the offense. So excited.
If you're going to take a shot in the dark on a guy, take a shot in the dark on a guy who was a 5-star, like pure 5-star prospect coming out of college who might have been in the wrong program, like you were saying. And he fits the bill.
Coming out of high school, he was ranked higher than a lot of your favorite wide receivers right now. I just want
he was number 1, wasn't he? Wasn't he number 1?
Yes, he was number 1.
Yeah. He was. Oh, so you Buffalo fan. Now again, I'm not.
Go look him up.
I'm not saying
go look up the names on that list.
This dude.
No,
but he was ranked over Jamar Chase. He was ranked over. Now, again, it could be the program. We could get a guy. Stephon Diggs was drafted late, and look at who he's become. We could have some. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is he
could end up being a solid, reliable number.
You go look at his. Go look at his quarterback
with
play.
Gabe Davis. That might be exactly what we need.
Yeah. Go look at his quarterback play. It's inconsistent. I mean, it's Anthony Richardson last year and everything too, but Anthony Richardson was an inconsistent passer this year. Like that was a knock on him coming the year. That's the guys he's working with. Sean Clifford was there for 6 years. That dude was not getting Justin Short of the ball. Like there was a lot of issues, a lot of talent there. I'm with you. Man. We could be the shorter. This could be the shorter train right here.
Yeah,
it's the shorter bus.
Train.
It's a shorter bus.
I didn't want to say.
Yeah, this is not the short bus. This is the shorter.
No. I'm on the shorter bus today. I'm proud to be on it.
All right,
we got 3 rows.
All right, let's do it. We are the short. Yeah, we only got 3 rows. Nobody else allowed.
Limited capacity.
He's good though, man. He's good, and people sleeping on him. They're gonna wake up. They're gonna wake up.
shout out to thank you for the great segue too. Shout out to the great work our friends Matt Perino and Ryan Talbot are doing with their insider text group, because I've been seeing those texts come through and everything, and they're talking about Andy Isabella today. Do you not hear about this, Jay Spence?
I forgot about this, dude.
I'm breaking news to you guys right now.
No, it's not even that. I'm
knowledge
upset.
on.
No, Matt and those are Matt and Ryan are my guys. I'm not part of no text group. What is happening?
They're doing their own like Shout NY text group, a couple dollars a month here, and they're sending these texts over.
They don't even love me like they claim they do. That's the problem with these Buffalo. No, I'm joking. I love those guys. Shout out to Matt and Ryan. Shout out to Matt and Ryan.
Don't lump them in with us.
Don't lump them in with Buffalo.
No, but we can.
But what about Andy? Because I think Andy's making a roster.
I was gonna say, if they want to start some wrestling podcast beef, we could start it with Shout, because Ryan Talbot's in with the wrestling, and we could do it. We got 3-on-2 numbers advantage too. We ready to go. Andy Isabella, apparently he was cooking today. That's all I'm saying. Like that was from the text group. Andy Isabella had a great day. They were talking about it on their podcast. We just wanted to shout out their work, but he's been cooking too. He came in a guy that again didn't have a lot of opportunity in Arizona, and then it was a freaking mess last year. Obviously, we saw that situation. So all of a sudden, they're deep at the back end of wide receiver, and it's like a very interesting competition. And I'm worried about Khalil Shakir a little bit. I'm worried about Khalil Shakir a little bit.
Maybe.
That's interesting. I said that on Hump Day Hotline. Me and Joe talked about that, and he agreed. But there's been some debates where people are like, no, Khalil's a lock. And I'm like, what has Khalil done that makes you feel like he's a lock? And they're like, well, the Bills drafted him. Okay. They also drafted Isaiah Hodgins. They also drafted, Wild Goose was gone the year he was drafted. I could go down a list of guys that we've drafted that play for other teams at this point
too. Yeah.
And it's not, he wasn't a second rounder.
We drafted Austin Prohl. What happened to Austin Prohl, guys?
And we drafted a guy in the third round at running back, and he's playing in Indianapolis right now. So what makes him a lock?
Oh my God.
But that's my thing is, if Isabella's a former second round guy who clearly didn't have ample opportunity and maybe can get that here. We're talking about Shorter's upside that he's showing. I mean, Shakir, it might just be that's 6 receivers right there that all I feel like have higher upside than what I saw from him last year, at least. And the roles that he's looking to play, we're talking about a Kincaid doing the things that he does best. We're talking about Hardy and Sherfield maybe doing, and Sherfield's been playing more on the outside though. So it seems like Hardy is pretty much locked in on that slot McKenzie role, like you were mentioning, but still like they ain't going to hold 7. I feel like, unless they feel like they need one of those guys for special teams, and that's how they pull it off. But I don't know. It doesn't feel like a year that you'd keep 7 receivers. So that's a really interesting battle to me.
Well,
I think, go ahead.
But see, I could see them keeping 7 and still not being Khalil Shakir. That probably sounds rough.
It's true.
But I'm telling you, I could absolutely see them like keeping 7 wide receivers, and Khalil Shakir is still on the outside looking in. Because when you look at here, let me pull up because do you guys have it up already, the depth chart or anything?
I do not.
I don't have it right on me, but I know the 6 are. We got 6. I know the 6 at least that I was thinking here. Let me grab this quick though.
Okay, so obviously Diggs, obviously Davis,
Hardy. Davis, Sherfield, Hardy, and then we got Shorter. And if we're talking Isabella here too, battle, and that's 6 right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
good problem to have.
It's a great problem to have, but the reason why I'm even saying that, unless Khalil Shakir is going to show improve in different ways, I'm telling you, people don't understand how much the Buffalo Bills do value special teams play as well. Remember, we kept Jake Kumaro over some studs on different areas where it felt political in a way, like they kept him but they value special teams. Exactly. Tyler Matakevich, they kept him because they value special teams. So if there's a wide receiver that's really, pulling his weight on special teams, I wouldn't be too shocked.
Yeah. And on top of that, running back wise, like that's easily Murray, Damian Harris, Cook, all on the roster. Reggie Gilliam at fullback, obviously on the roster. Tight end, we spent a lot of time talking about Kincaid and Knox, but we're talking, okay, maybe Kincaid isn't the best blocker. Does that mean Quentin Morris is now on the roster because we need another tight end who can block? I'm not going to say that is happening, but if that was their rationale for keeping a third tight end in addition to Reggie Gilliam who can also block as a tight end, I wouldn't completely blame them. So, and also Sal Capaccio has been saying that there is a realistic possibility they want to keep 10 defensive linemen this year. So spots are really going to be limited. There's going to be a lot of late August trades from Brandon Beane. That's all I can say. There's going to be a lot of trades for like 5th round picks.
Well, when you're looking at that defensive line, and that was what me and Joe spent a lot of time on, because it's like, and when we actually didn't even do the defensive side yesterday, we did offense. And but next week when we do defense, dude, just you look at just defensive ends, like edge. There's no way. Like there's no way. Von Miller, Shane Ray, Greg Rousseau, Boogie Basham, Leonard Floyd, AJ Epinesa, Shaq, right there. That's 7 guys. Yep. Like that's 7 guys. Just edge. I didn't even talk about Ed Oliver now, Daquan Jones, Poona Ford's not getting cut, Jordan Phillips not getting it, Tim Settle,
no way.
You know what I'm saying? And so is guys on this team that we're used to seeing. Is it Shaq? Is it AJ Epinesa? Is it Boogie Basham?
They've been talking about
guys
Epinesa
on this team. Too. They talk him up every year, though, man. He's been cheeks to me.
That's true.
Every year he's been cheeks. I got to be honest about it. Like I get it. He was a high draft pick, and they're like, oh, he's gonna have a breakout year. They say that every single year, and he doesn't break out. We draft these guys 1st and 2nd round. We got all these 1st and 2nd round draft picks on this defensive line, and when Von went out, what happened? Cheeks couldn't get to the quarterback. Just straight bums, man. Yeah. Like ass chips. What are we doing? And then so no, AJ Epinesa to me, he's the guy I have on the outside looking in. I also have Boogie Basham outside looking in.
Yeah, if they could trade one of those guys, I could see that. Like you're talking about Brandon Beane wheeling and dealing. It looks like they've got some trade chips there. They were talking about Dane Jackson too. I mean, with that CB2 competition, maybe whoever is left on the outside there could be a trade. But I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't touch the secondary. I would not touch the secondary this year. I think the D-line could be, if all these guys are healthy though, and I don't care whatever one they decide to get rid of, ultimately, if the guys at the top end are gonna be healthy, I think this D-line could be special this year. It's one of the things I'm most excited about. And that is obviously contingent on Von. You said you're thinking more about week 4, week 5. That feels like more like the timeline for the ACL and just being cautious and everything else. And I think that's reasonable. You want Von Miller in December and November when they really needed him last year. And it was, evident. Like you want to just point to one thing. I don't care about anything, offense, anything else in the divisional game. If Von Miller's on the field, I think it's a different game. And whatever you want to talk, if that's a failure in team building overall, whatever, drafting, whatever else, that's not besides the point. Was the problem. He was the missing piece, and he is the solution this year too. And the way I just like looking at the depth charts as big puzzle pieces with dollar signs next to them. And when Von has that cap price and he's gone, and Trey has that cap price, and he's, he wasn't himself coming into last year, and he shouldn't be expected to be himself. These things take time to come back from these ACL injuries, just ramping back up. And you have these 2 positions in general where you have guys expected to be at an all-pro level, and they either are not on the field or can't perform to that level. That's where it's the negative side of having such a top-heavy team can come from. And I feel like that is what, like, the thought and just that anxiety has been the thing that has been in fans all summer long, is just like, well, if one thing happens, then this is all going to come down again. And all come down again, mind you, with everything that happened last year. They were still a 13-4 team, still in the divisional round. And I very much remember it being 17-7 and them having the ball with the 2 minutes left or whatever the score was. It could have been a 1-score game going into the half. And they messed up the drive, but that was the position they were in. And that's where it comes down to in the game of football. It can come down to a couple minutes stretch here or there, but this team has all the pieces, and everything went wrong last year. So what if everything goes right? What if most things go right? They still feel like they're just as positioned, I think, overall to be the top team in the NFL again, potentially. Like, I really feel like that was their potential last year, and I feel like it's their potential this year too.
I agree, and this is why I'm so I guess shocked, and I get it. Every year there has to be a new darling in the NFL, but I'm just shocked at why everybody is assuming that the Jets are immediately Super Bowl winners, or even that Miami is Super Bowl winner. Because now, and this is the way I see it, the Buffalo
smells
Bills,
like Russell Wilson's 12 bathrooms. What can I say?
But it does, because this was the same thing last year. They said, "Oh no, Denver's gonna unseat the Chiefs." How? They still have Patrick Mahomes. Like, so now you're talking about Buffalo in this division. Okay, so first Miami. Okay, they got a great defensive coordinator. I will give them that. I think that was a huge move. You signed Ramsey. He's out now for most of the season, but even if when he was healthy, are Bills fans really scared of Ramsey? We saw what Diggs does when he's lined up against Ramsey. And then, so how much more did they close the gap? They were what, 9-8 last year?
I think so. I think that's right.
They were 9-8.
Really comes down to this. I have this one simple question to you about the Dolphins here before we go into the Jets, Spence, because you've got me a perfect question. My first question that I had for you about the Dolphins, where I think that's the key to it, is Tua. Can he be Drew Brees, which is what they all talk about, or is he just Derek Carr? Best case scenario, because if he's best case scenario Derek Carr, they're not winning this division this year. If he's best case scenario Drew Brees, like Dolphins fans seem to think is his best case scenario, then they can win the division. Okay, is Tua that guy? That's how I feel.
I'm trying to be really nice when I say this because I like Tua, so I don't want to come across as a jerk.
I think you're a nice guy.
Thank you. I try.
Yes, I do too.
Tua is not Drew Brees. And even if he was Drew Brees, we can be honest about some things. When Drew Brees had to play against, at that time, the top quarterbacks, he wasn't the guy. He has a Super Bowl.
Lose a lot of those games,
but you lost a lot of the head-to-head against those guys. So if you want to say Tua's Drew Brees, by all means, go for it. But guess what? We have. Aaron Rodgers is in this division now, but we have like today. I compare Josh more to Aaron Rodgers than any other. Like they compare him to Brett Favre, and they compare him to all. I see so much of what I saw in early Aaron Rodgers' career, like early Aaron Rodgers, and the stuff that Josh does, the certain throws, and the way it's insane. It's uncanny how similar they're throwing. So you have one of the best quarterbacks in the division with Josh Allen, or in the league with Josh Allen, and then you have another one of the best quarterbacks in the league with Aaron Rodgers. And you mean to tell me that you're going to bet on Tua before you bet on Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen? Okay. All right. That was my nice way to say it.
Yeah. No, and it's totally fair because you watch the Dolphins, like even in these training camp videos that the Dolphins social media team is shamelessly putting out there, they are throws by Tua that if it was to anyone other than Tyreek Hill, the throw would not be there. Tyreek Hill is so far and away potentially the best receiver in the league right now that he could have a below average quarterback throwing to him. I'm not saying Tua's below average. I think he is perfectly average. I think he is the perfectly average quarterback. He is so Kirk Cousins that it hurts. But if there were any other quarterback throwing to him, he could still probably come down with at least 80% of the balls that he catches now. He's so wide open that it is ridiculous. You don't need to be able to fit the ball into one of those little net thingies that Deshaun Watson hits from 5 yards away. You don't need to be able to do that. You just need to get the ball near the guy. And Tyreek Hill is going to come down with it, especially when you have Jalen freaking Waddle on the other side. Like, it's not difficult for a quarterback to succeed in that offense. Now, I don't think Tua is terrible. A lot of people think Tua is trash. I don't think he's trash. But as you said, just being realistic, when you have two of maybe the top 8 quarterbacks in the NFL in your division, you're not going to stack up to that so easily. It's just a matter of fact.
You guys hit it. That's where I'm at. I think the ceiling is just like where is it realistically for the guy, for a shorter quarterback who clearly doesn't have like elite arm strength or anything like that. And you put this, and when you bring in the context of the division and everything else, like how high can they 10-7 feels like the best 11-6, like something like that. And that's not going to get it done. I feel like this is going to take a 12-win division, and I don't know if they can get to 12.
They're even saying that his coach is a top 5 coach over Sean McDermott at this point. I'm just throwing that out there.
Hey, listen, the Sean slander has got a little crazy this summer too, but that's another story for another day.
We'll talk about that next week.
You did touch on the Fangio aspect, which is the thing I would say most bullish on. Is I think this defense, now Ramsey's going to get torched by Josh Allen no matter what. Don't get me wrong, but Ramsey does have his way with other receivers. And I think Fangio is going to bring the best out of this defense. I think the defensive unit can be pretty good this year. And obviously we know they're gonna beat up on bad teams too. Like that's the thing with the Dolphins is they're going to impress in a lot of games. That's 1 o'clock in sunny Miami where whoever they're playing, whatever 2-10 team that they're playing, they're going to put up 45 on, and it's going to be like, oh my God, like the Dolphins are coming in, and they're going to be able to have those performances. But I feel like the ceiling is lower than people think. And I would say to transition to the Jets and talk about who we think. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Did you watch Hard Knocks the other day, guys?
Yeah,
I did not see it.
Right,
but
you're our Hard Knocks correspondent, James Pence the King.
Yeah, we're going live to Jay Spence on the right side of the screen. Jay Spence, what'd you see on Hard Knocks?
First of all, I would tell you Hard Knocks got it right this year. It's a phenomenal production, and they're doing their job making the Jets look like they're going to be the most amazing team to ever be on the field. Like they're doing their job. Aaron Rodgers looks healthy. His thumb looks better, so he's putting the ball where it needs to be. You know, obviously it's select highlights. They're not showing his bad throws, but he looks really good. The defense looks good. It's a great show. I think you should catch up on it. You absolutely should. I think they're the biggest threat to the Bills.
Oh yeah.
In general,
and I'm not even in general. I'm not talking about AFC East.
I agree. I agree in general.
I think out of the AFC, obviously every year I look at the Chiefs and then it's the Bills, and then after those two teams, I think the biggest threat for me out the AFC is the Jets right now. Last year the defense did the absolute, like it was the worst. It was the most tough game that the Bills had both times.
Both of them.
In New Jersey and in Buffalo, Orchard Park, it was the most difficult game for the offense when we played against the Jets. So you bring that back, and then now they have an offense that can score more than 6 points a game now. They have a quarterback that can actually get the ball to their best receivers.
So how high are you? So here's the thing about the offensive side of the ball for the Jets is Rodgers. Yes, he was not. I don't. There's talk about how much more motivated he is and how much more locked in he's been, and he obviously did show up to OTAs and everything. And there has to be credence to that because the motivation level of a player, it can change everything. And that's a guy who has enough cachet that he could choose to be unmotivated for a season and get away with it. Like we've clearly saw, he got his way. It took him a year, but he got his way. But he did start clicking with those guys at the end of the season, and he got hurt a little bit midway through the season, had a thumb injury. There was just a lot of bumps all the way through last season. So I feel like it was like, I really wanted to. And we got Rob Ryan, shout out Rob Ryan. We've had some Jets fans seeing it online, everything. And I just want to rip Rodgers, be like, he was terrible last year, and really like live up my Chicago roots that I'm building up here and everything. But I can't do it because I really see this, like everything you're saying, this offense can only be better with him at the helm. But when you compare it to the Bills offense, and if I think the Bills defense, I feel like the Bills defense is, I don't know how we didn't talk as much about the defensive side, but I think because of the defensive line and being healthy in the secondary, I don't think they're going to miss Edmonds as much as they should. And that defense is going to be just as good, if not better last year. So I think they could wash with that defense. You're talking Allen and Rodgers. I'm taking Allen. You want to talk about running back? It's a wash for me. If you want to take Breece Hall coming off his ACL, sure, but I don't know if I would do that. You're talking top tier wide receiver. Garrett Wilson's an awesome wide receiver, but he ain't Stephon Diggs. And the rest of that receiving core, I think I'll take Gabe Davis in the crew rather than all of Rodgers' old friends from the Packers. And then
that's the part I disagree.
Okay, that's fine.
That's the part. Going to finish.
Knox and Kincaid, I'll take. Knox and Kincaid, I'll take. And I'll take the Bills O-line over the Jets O-line situation, which is the only thing I read about them concerned about is we don't know about the O-line. The O-line had issues today. The biggest thing I'm concerned about with you have an old quarterback is a bad O-line. But continue about the receivers because I want to include the optimism around everybody else besides Garrett Wilson, my fantasy and dynasty darling.
Well, before I jump back in, did you have anything, Rick? I didn't want to take your.
Oh no, all I was gonna say is it's more on the Aaron Rodgers side of it. So let's stay with the receivers, and then I'll go back to Rodgers.
Okay, so with the receivers, to me, Wilson is he's not Diggs, but he's super special, and I think he could be. He's gonna be in that conversation in the next couple of years where they're gonna say he's a top 5, top 3 guy. So, he's just young, but then listen, dude, like I know we said earlier it's a contract year for Gabe. You're right. I hope that he's going to give us a contract year performance. But so far, we've seen the same thing out of Gabe for the time that he's been in the league. You know, we've had big games here and there, but we've seen the same thing. Hardy, I just spoke praises about him, and I think he's an upgrade from Isaiah McKenzie. But he's not a game changer. We didn't sign him here to be a wide receiver number 2. He's not. So if Gabe goes down, we're not like, okay, we got Hardy to step up and to do big things. Justin Short is Shorter going to be that? We're talking about how he was underdeveloped in college. Khalil Shakir last season, what did he do that made it? I just said what makes him a lock. Andy Isabella, I love the idea of signing him. I think you put him with a player like Josh Allen, and I think you have 2 guys that have skill sets that fit each other. So I think it could work. But Andy Isabella also, he's not, you know what I'm saying? So it's like when you're talking about, so then you're talking about Alan Lazard came over to the Jets to join Wilson. Then you talk about, I'm not a Cobb fan at this point of his career, but the Jets receiver room, I think, overall is better. Now, if you add the tight ends, I'm with you. I'd take Kincaid and Knox. But if we're talking about wide receivers, I don't know, bro. Like I'm not as maybe I'm just not as high on the Bills wide receiver room as others. Because on the show last night, I asked Joe, well, where do you put the wide receiver room? And he's like, oh, I think we have a very good room. I think we're middle of the pack, like top 15.
I agree with.
I would say 15. 15 is the right spot. Top 15 sounds good.
So I think so when you say that, where do you put the Jets?
The ceiling for me for the Bills is higher because like Hardy with Josh Allen, I feel like they could accentuate the best things and have more splash plays. It's ceiling wise for me with the wide receivers, and just because I think Diggs is so much better than I love Jarrett Wilson. I have a lot of stock in him, but I think Diggs is just he's on a special tier with only a couple other guys, and it's really hard to crack that tier for me. And so for him, it's just like. Maybe that's the bias is it's just Diggs, and then everybody else kind of like gets brought up a level just because I'm like, well, he's so damn good that it's going to do everything else for them. But they are more solid. The Jets are definitely more like what you're going to get more with the Jets. I feel like so I understand your trust more in their core.
You're right. You just said it right. Let's say we take Garrett Wilson off the Jets and we take Stephon Diggs off the Bills. So
I'll take Lazard
receivers. You take the Bills receivers or you take the Jets receivers?
I'll take Lazard and Corey Davis for sure because I like Corey Davis a lot too.
So I mean, and so yeah, both teams have their one. I don't think Wilson is there yet, but Wilson is special. So it's going to be splitting hairs when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers throwing to him. So I'm just saying, man, like when we're being honest, the Jets are a threat. The Jets are absolutely a threat. It's going to take Josh Allen being Josh Allen.
And the biggest threat has to be in the division too. If it's a team that it can get to that, if there's a real threat to 12 wins in the division, like that's the number one focus. I feel like for me.
Yeah, and I think I'm almost between you guys because I think I take the Jets receiving core, wide receivers, not tight end as you guys said, over the Bills. However, I think that Josh Allen is going to get more out of his receivers than Aaron Rodgers will. Like, even when you look at Aaron Rodgers targeting Alan Lazard, the receiver he begged and pleaded and forced the Jets to bring over, he's still at a 60% catch rate last year. He only got 60 out of 100 targets. Aaron Jones was one catch behind Alan Lazard for the lead on the Packers team with 59. Aaron Rodgers is going to play mistake-free, or at least predominantly mistake-free football, or he's going to try to behind that bad offensive line. So can Aaron Rodgers buy time? Yes. At this stage of his career, maybe not as much in years past. I don't know. I think that we definitely did see the beginning of the end of Aaron Rodgers. Not saying he's going to fall off the Tom Brady or Peyton Manning-esque cliffs that they had in their last years. Not going to expect that at all. But I think that by season's end, the Bills pass catchers will statistically be better than the New York Jets, despite being maybe arguably like two teams below them in, like, if we're doing a receivers power rankings, if you will.
Rodgers. And if Rodgers gets hit a lot, that'll change a lot of things too. Let's touch on the Pats here before we finish up getting to know Jay Spence a little bit. I don't really have a lot to say about the Pats. I feel like the only thing, like, the skill position is going to suck again. Like that. So their ceiling is very low, but I feel like Mac Jones is going to be better because Bill O'Brien is an actual offensive coach. What your mileage can vary on his offensive acumen. I think he's a pretty good offensive coordinator. People might not, whatever, but they at least have a guy that is coached the position for a long time in there, and I feel like that's going to help Mac a little.
Yeah,
bit.
last year Mac Jones was lost in the woods without a map and a compass, and this year he'll be lost in the woods, but he'll have a map and a compass. That's the difference, honestly.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be better than they were last year, though.
Sure.
I think Juju Smith is going to be a big addition for Mac Jones.
That's
I think
true.
we sleep on Juju because of the TikTok stuff, but I mean, you got to remember when he had a decent team around him and good coaching, he actually played pretty well. So when you got who people think is the best coach of all time, and like you mentioned, now you have a competent offensive coordinator. I like him. I like O'Brien as an offensive coordinator, not as a head coach, but offensive coordinator. I think he's solid. So no, I don't think they're nothing for us to worry about. But I feel Miami has better pieces. They have better receivers. They have a better team. I think people overhype the coaching down there, and they overhype Tua. Yes. I would not be surprised if the Patriots have a better season because coaching. I would not be surprised.
And people are excited about that defense right now too. Legitimately,
they're always good. The Dolphins might have a great defense. The Patriots every year will always have a good defense.
I agree,
100%.
All right, we don't got to talk about the Patriots anymore. That's already too much for this.
We wrapped it up pretty easily, didn't we?
Now let's do it. We got 83 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
For Jay Spence the King, I got to figure out how to. Hold up. I got a countdown timer here and everything.
Jesus.
We ready to roll.
Incredible.
We got to get some social content up, and what better way to get to know our guy here than to get this cracking. So 83 seconds on the clock and these beautiful Hertz ads. If I can get these out of here.
You invested in them. Help them invest in them.
Traveling.
Got to get outlet liquor ads in there. What the hell?
No free plugs for you
guys. Tell them to get on this website.
No, sir.
All right. Clock set at 83 for Andre Reed. Are you ready, Jay Spence the King?
Let's get it.
Let's go. All right. Favorite vacation city?
Cozumel, Mexico.
Whew. French toast, pancakes, or waffles?
French toast.
French toast. I like that. Barbie or Oppenheimer?
One more time, you broke up there.
Barbie or Oppenheimer?
Barbie. For sure.
How much would you be willing to pay for a Taylor Swift ticket?
0.
Not even $5. If Taylor Swift was down the street for $5.
No,
I ain't touching that.
I like Taylor Swift. Like I hear the music that's on the radio and stuff. She's very, very. But no, I'm not paying that money to go to a concert.
All right, fair enough. Can't argue with that. LA or NYC?
Ooh. Oh, I'm gonna say New York. I'm gonna go New York.
Trick question: Chicago, Jordan or LeBron?
LeBron.
Oh, okay. Madden 04 or ESPN NFL 2K5?
2K5.
Okay, I'm with that too. If you could tag team with anyone at WrestleMania, who would it be?
Like a wrestler or just a regular person?
Wrestler would be preferred if you know a bunch, but regular person if not.
Well, if I'm going wrestler, I would go Gold Dust.
Oh.
I would go Gold Dust.
God damn, that thing was loud as hell.
Yeah, no,
I'm gonna know that next
like
time.
That.
Right? Gold Dust though. You went with Gold Dust.
I love Gold Dust.
You a wrestling guy?
I love wrestling, dude. I love. Well, you know what? I love what wrestling was. I can't say I don't like it now. I don't watch it enough to really get invested in the characters.
It's hot again, though. It is hot again.
I'm sure. I'm seeing that it is. And but when I was growing up, man, like it was something about Gold Dust. He was super weird, but it was like I guess that's what intrigued me. He just. He was just different. But my favorite wrestler, obviously, I feel like everybody was like Stone Cold and The Rock and all those guys. I love those guys, but Gold Dust, I don't know. That dude was something.
I knew I liked you for some reason because I am a big Gold Dust fan, big fan of Dustin Rhodes and the Rhodes in general. So that's a great pick. Well, if you could fight anybody, who would it be? That was the last question I was trying to get to.
As in, like, I don't like you and I want to punch you in the mouth?
No, a wrestler guest at WrestleMania. But you can pick any, if you want to start beef. I mean,
no.
I mean,
at the beginning of the show,
at the
beginning of the show, we said it's positive. Okay.
Well, we could change our ways. It's the pilot.
It's the pilot.
No, if I was let's see. It would fighting against anybody. I think it would be.
It could be a wrestler or a person or a celebrity, whatever. It don't matter.
Mankind. I'm gonna stick with wrestling. I'm gonna go Mankind.
Cool. In like extreme
Hell in a
match,
Cell, something like
fire,
that. Like
some tax,
good
stuff.
A hardcore championship match. I want to win the belt. The hardcore. Remember the hardcore belt with like all
broken up.
Yeah, give me that one. I want that one.
Hell yeah. Get this man a hardcore championship belt. Well, you need to start watching some wrestling. I was just at the SummerSlam on Saturday in Detroit, Jay Spence. And it was incredible. Amazing. Like there is nothing better than if anything, you're whenever wrestling, AEW or WWE comes by you, go to the show because they are more fun than they've ever been. If you don't want to watch on TV every week, you can catch up on YouTube or clips and pretty much stay intact. But going to a show, nothing like it. I swear.
You got my word. I'm gonna check it out.
Let me know when you do. But yeah, the SummerSlam was a great experience. You would tag with Goldust. I love to hear that. We are big. We are a Rhodes Family podcast. In case you knew that, Wake. Now you know.
Now I do.
Now you know.
Every day. Look at that.
Well, thank you, Jay Spence the King, for joining us on the preseason pilot. I'm sure we'll just send you a link like 3 minutes before we go on week 12. And then you said you'd be on, so I expect you to be right there.
And I'm gonna be there. And I got to get you. So there are some changes. And I know we got to go, so I'll say it quick. There are some changes.
Get your plugs in, please.
So obviously the code of conduct, Hump Day Hotline, Chop Up, all of those things. Just follow Buffalo Rumblings. I'm on there. But there's going to be some changes as far as my show is concerned. But I do want to get you guys on the season. I know last year we talked about it and it just didn't happen. This season, we're going to get you on the code of conduct for sure. It has to
Appreciate that.
Let's do it.
Thanks, dude.
Let's do it. All right. Thank you. I don't got anything else to say, but go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills, everybody.